Bill Lyons, small business owner. We know where Joel stands now on the state rights versus the federal rights. Where does Travis stand on the state rights versus the federal rights?
Bill, a great question. My understanding of the state of our country today is that we have conflict between two prime directives. On one hand, we have the prime directive that says the common good trumps everything else. And on the other hand, we have a prime directive that says individual liberties trump everything else. And right now, those two ideas are in kind of conflict, or apposition is the word I would use. Somewhere between those two poles of values is a sweet spot where society operates best. And it's my opinion that right now this country is moving towards a cavalier disregarding of individual liberties, and it needs to be pushed back. The people that want to sacrifice individual liberties for the sake of the common good are making a big mistake. And I think it's based upon their self-righteous attitude that they get to say, define what the common good is. And so from that perspective, I think it's necessary to push back against creeping erosion of individual liberties based on the Constitution. Bill, is that even close to an answer?
Close.
Refine.
By the way, I would agree with
That was my stump speech, so I
agree with what you just said.
appreciate the opportunity to stick that out there.
It's basically the Constitution, the first 10 amendments, it's about the Constitution, the first 10 amendments, and where the founding fathers created. Do you follow those to over and above to where they have the priority, or does the newer standards or the newer interpretations have priority?
All right. I think I got two things to say to that. First of all, as an example, to me the Second Amendment is sacred. All right. Secondly, I believe that an activist judiciary which legislates from the bench is an insult to the legislative process and an attack on the individual liberties and the essence of what it is to be an American. So the Constitution is supreme. I've worn out 3 copies of the Federalist Papers studying the nature of the compromise, the compromises that were necessary to put this incredible engine of self-government in place. So that's my perspective.
I would just agree with everything that he just said in the last 2 points. I think that the Constitution, what the genius of it is the perfect balance between governmental power and individual rights. They put in all these, they gave all these powers, and then the anti-federalists came up and said, well, yeah, but you didn't put any Bill of Rights in here. We're not going to ratify this unless you do. Patrick Henry was leading the charge against the Constitution in Virginia and made James Madison promise that they would put in a Bill of Rights if they voted for the Constitution. And so he did promise that, and he fulfilled his promise and put the Bill of Rights in, which is one of the greatest documents in the history of the world to announce the rights of man and to protect those rights. And we have to remember that when we're administering the government, that you have to be sure to protect individual rights, because whoever it is you're trying for a crime, or you're trying to take away his property, or whatever you're doing, the government's doing, that individual is the basic makeup of our whole society, and his rights are given to him by God, as it says in the Declaration of Independence, that we are endowed by our Creator with these rights, and the government doesn't have the right to take those away. So the Bill of Rights is there to protect those God-given rights, and we need to do that. And I think we're on a track in today's America to take those away and just make this okay, the government can do whatever it wants to, and if you get in the way, then get out of the way, or get squashed. We need to stop that.
Alrighty, that's all the time we have for the Attorney General's office, and that concludes another interview process for Veterans of Politics. Hey, Travis.
Do we get to say anything in closing? I like Mr. Hanson. I hope if I get the job...
Go ahead.
60-second closing comments. Go ahead.
I hope if I get the job, he would consider being on the staff there, because you know what? We need guys like him in that office, right? Anyway, I like Mr. Hanson, I appreciate him being here.
I really appreciate what you had to say too, and thanks for your comments. I would like to leave a lot of these with you. I've got 9 points of law to make Nevada strong, and you mentioned the right to keep and bear arms. I consider that to be the basic right. Ultimately, you know, we have the ballot box, we have the soap box, we've got the jury box, and if all those fail, then we've got the cartridge box. Thanks.